we're practicing with the letter G and the letter C. Let's start with the letter G. Okay. When we have the letter G by itself, what sound does it normally make?
Good.
Good. It makes G. But if the letter G has a Y or an E or an I, it says J. J, J, J. So how do you say this word?
Gem.
Gem. Good. Same thing with the letter C. Okay. Let's say we have the letter C by itself. What sound does it normally make? Kaylin? Good. It makes the K sound. But if the letter C has a Y or an E or an I, it says S. So this word, it has a silly Y pretending to be short I. How would you say this word, Jorge? Try again.
I.
It's making a short I sound. Good. What is it?
Cyst.
Cyst. Good. So this says cyst. Okay. So you guys are pretty good with this. This is at the beginning of words, but sometimes we have the same rule, but sometimes we have C at the end of words, and sometimes we have G at the end of words. Now, before we move on, you guys already know this rule, right? How does this rule go? There are no words that end in V, always at a
Silent E.
Good. There are no words that end in V, always at a silent E. Like have, yeah, even though it's a short vowel, it doesn't say have, it says have, because we always add a silent E, whether it's long or short with V words. There's another rule that's similar, okay? It's instead of there are no words that end in V, it's there are no words that end in J. Okay, so for that rule,
But what is jar?
what about, well, jar begins with a J. Okay, it doesn't end with a J. There are no words that end with J.
If.
There's some foreign words that we borrow that end with J, but in English there are no words that end with J. If you hear the, what sound is this?
J.
If you hear the J sound at the end of the word, it makes a difference. You would spell it differently depending on what type of vowel sound you heard. Okay, what does this little curvy line mean?
Short.
Ethan? Good, it means a short vowel. Good. So if you have a short vowel and you hear J at the end of the word, you would spell it good, D-G-A. But what is this line on top? This straight line, this straight horizontal line.
Long.
It means a long vowel. Good. So if you hear a long vowel, how would you spell the J sound, Brian?
G-E.
G-E. So that applies to words that have the J sound at the end. So also, this is just like the rule that we were talking about before. If G has a Y or an E or an I, it says J, 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 J. Even over here, when it has D-G-E, do we say D-J? Do we say D-G? D-G? How would we say this, D-G-E? How would we say this?
J.
J. It still says J. So G-E like this says J. Jorge Isaac here, and D-G-E says
J.
J. They both say J. Okay? I'm going to write some words down. I didn't want you guys to practice them. Alright? Let me see. Where's my eraser? Oh, thanks, Ethan. Alright, let me erase this. It was next to my knee. Alright, raise your hand if you know this. Alright. Before you tell me the word, I want you guys to tell me, is it a long vowel or a short vowel? Kaylin, how do you know it's a long vowel?
Because there's a silent E.
There is a silent E here, and usually he just jumps over one letter. Also, looking at our chart, we see that there's just a G-E at the end. If you only see the G-E at the end, you know that this must be long. Good, so how would we say this?
Huge.
Huge. Good. Very good, Kaylin.
I know a geo word.
You know a GIF word? What word?
Geo.
Geo? You mean like geographic or geo, like the Greek root meaning earth? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that's also a GIF word. You're right. For an initial GIF.
And also, teacher, I know a GE word. I know a GE word.
What is it, Jorge?
My name.
Your name, Jorge? Well, but you spell your name with a J. But at the end, you say in Spanish, it's instead of G has a Y or an I, it says J. J has a Y or an I, it says H. But in English, you're right. In English, it would be J or J. So you're right, Jorge. very different word, and I'm going to write a word, and you guys need to tell me if it has a short vowel or a long vowel just by looking at it. Let me see who has their eyes up here. Alright, is it a short vowel or a long vowel? Ethan.
Short.
It's a short vowel. How do you know it's a short vowel? Good. You can tell because if the word has a DGE, that must mean that the vowel is short. So what does the DGE say together? J. And this is short. So how do you say this word? Fudge. Excellent. All right, let me do another one. All right. Okay, I'll sign it in 5 minutes. We're filming a video right now, and you're actually in the video. Okay. John. Let me see. Brain.
Budge.
Budge. Good. Is this a long vowel or a short vowel?
Short.
It's a short vowel. Good. So over here we have the DGE, and I told you that this was
Short.
short. Good. Budge. All right. And we'll do one more.
She needs a churn.
All right. Raise your hand if you know whether this is a long vowel or a short vowel. Jorge?
Long down.
How do you know it's a long vowel? Good. It's a GE, which means it's a long vowel. Excellent. So how would you say this word?
Cage.